What's up? What's up? What's up, YouTube? Right now, you're hanging with Mr. Jackson. Story time. Really reaction time, y'all. We about to get into the reaction about Jamal Warner didn't drown, y'all. I knew an update was gonna come out because I ain't believe it, but we gonna get reactions. Then I'm gonna say my points, and y'all understand. But this is his channel right here. We doing a reaction. It's AI, so you really can't believe everything AI say. But enough of that, man. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get it.
They told us it was a tragic accident, that Malcolm-Jamal Warner, beloved actor, mentor, and the face of an entire generation, simply drowned, that it was quick, that it was peaceful, that it was nobody's fault. But what if that wasn't the truth? What if one of the most respected Black voices in Hollywood didn't die by mistake, but by design? Because that's exactly what his mother, Pamela Warner, believes. And now she's speaking out. In the weeks since Malcolm's shocking death, questions have only multiplied. Why was there a 3-hour delay in calling 911? Why did someone break into his apartment days later, taking only his files and hard drives? Why was his body
I didn't know that part right there. I didn't know that part right there, y'all. That's crazy.
Reportedly covered in bruises, inconsistent with drowning? And what happened to the secret project he was working on? A project that, according to sources, could have shattered the foundations of the entertainment industry. This wasn't just an actor lost to the water. This was a man who said, "If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident." A man who was preparing to tell the truth about power, abuse, and the silence that destroys lives. And now he's gone. But his story isn't over, because Pamela Warner has declared war on the lie, and she's armed with the one thing Malcolm left behind, a hidden archive of files.
Let me get my point across, y'all. I don't think he drowned either, y'all. Who would take their daughter out to a place where they said got so many different signs up there saying not to swim without no lifeguards? I wouldn't even take myself or my kids there in the first place, yo. I think it was set up for him to seem like he wanted to go there himself, but I don't think that man was smart, man. That's an educated man. That man was smart, man.
That may expose the truth behind his death. This video is not about conspiracy. It's about questions. It's about silence. And it's about a mother who refuses to be quiet, no matter how powerful the people standing in her way. What you're about to hear could change how we remember Malcolm-Jamal Warner forever. And it all begins with doubt. It was supposed to be just another quiet night. Malcolm-Jamal Warner had retreated to a private lakeside property outside Los Angeles, a place he often went to disconnect from the noise of Hollywood, to breathe, to think, to create. He was 54, healthy, and according to friends, entering a new era of clarity and purpose. No one expected that the next time they'd hear his name, it would be tied to death.
I know, right?
Authorities moved quickly. The report came in simple terms: an accidental drowning, no foul play, case closed. But Pamela Warner, his mother, his anchor, the woman who knew him better than anyone, refused to believe it. "My son did not die by accident," she said firmly. In a public statement delivered through her attorney. "There are unanswered questions, and I will not stop until I have them." And from the very beginning, those doubts weren't just a grieving mother's denial. They were grounded in facts that didn't add up. For starters, Malcolm wasn't a stranger to water. He was an experienced swimmer, often seen doing laps at his local pool. Swimming, friends say, was his therapy, his way of coping with stress. And right now, he had every reason to be stressed and focused.
Yeah, that lets you know something right there too, y'all. He was I don't care, yo, a wave could probably pull you off balance and stuff like that. But if you're a person that swim all the time, I think you could get out of that, y'all. Only way you probably couldn't get out of that if they had like some like stuff that's in the water that hit you upside the head, something like that. That's the only way I can see it, man. But either other way, you could get out of that, y'all. I know the waves they hit hard and stuff like that. I saw plenty of people that be surfing and stuff be getting stuck in the waves, but they always get out. With no lifeguard, they still get out.
Because behind the calm exterior, Malcolm was reportedly working on the most important project of his life, a tell-all memoir, a story about
that was
truth,
it right there.
a story some believe was never supposed to be told. He had been producing behind the scenes, mentoring young actors, and quietly collecting evidence, notes, recordings, interviews. He was about to blow the lid off something, said one industry insider, and then suddenly, he's gone? The timing was too convenient, the location too isolated, the explanation too simple. And Pamela, she wasn't just grieving, she was listening to her gut, and her gut told her something was very, very wrong. Before the tragedy, there were signs. Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't a man prone to panic, but in the final days of his life, something changed. Friends describe a shift in his energy, a restlessness, a sharp edge behind his usually calm demeanor. He started canceling meetings. He stopped returning calls. And when he did speak to close friends, his words were unsettling. He told me straight up, said one longtime confidant, "If anything happens to me, this wasn't an accident." At the time, they thought he was just tired, maybe burned out. But now, in the silence that followed his death, every word feels like a clue. A second friend came forward with something even more disturbing. A voicemail Malcolm left just 48 hours before he died.
Ooh.
"Yo, something's wrong," the message said. "I'm being watched. I don't know who to trust anymore. If something happens to me, it wasn't my doing. Don't let them tell you otherwise." He sounded scared, like he knew something was closing in, like he was running out of time. At first, those closest to him tried to explain it away. Maybe it was stress from the memoir. Maybe it was pressure from people who didn't want him to speak. Maybe it was paranoia. But
how they feel now, I know they're like, damn, I wish I would have believed him.
How do you ignore a man's final warning when it sounds like a prophecy? Especially when, just 2 days later, he was found floating in still waters, alone. Even Malcolm's assistant said something felt off in his final text messages. He didn't say goodbye, she noted, but it felt like a goodbye. This wasn't just a man who was afraid, this was a man who knew, and as Pamela Warner began putting together the pieces, those warnings would become the foundation of a very different story, one the public was never meant to hear, because if Malcolm knew someone was after him, the next question is, who and why? It was supposed to be a peaceful evening. Malcolm-Jamal Warner had checked into a private lakeside property. No press, no paparazzi, no distractions. Just still water, fresh air.
It's like they knew where he was. It's like they knew where he was going at, y'all. It's probably like they had cameras and stuff set up right there. They knew he'd go there all the time. And they probably was just waiting to that certain time to get him. To set him up, y'all.
Air and space to think. He was seen at around 8 p.m. chatting with the caretaker and walking near the edge of the lake.
He probably part of the caretaker.
Focused, alone. That was the last time anyone would see him alive. According to the official report, emergency services weren't called until nearly 11 p.m., almost 3 full hours later. No explanation, no timeline, just silence. When first responders arrived, Malcolm's body was found floating in shallow water near the edge of the dock. There were no visible injuries reported. Authorities quickly labeled it a routine drowning and closed the case pending toxicology results. But that's where things start to fall apart. There were no witnesses, no security footage, no sign of distress, despite Malcolm being a strong swimmer. The police said there was.
That's a private place, so I know they got security cameras, y'all. I know they got security cameras, yo. If that's a private spot, yo, the people that's on the spot, yo, is in on it. Because I know they got cameras.
Was no indication of foul play, but they couldn't explain the 3-hour delay. They didn't clarify who discovered the body. And most importantly, they never released the toxicology report. Even more troubling, Pamela Warner wasn't allowed to see her son's body before the official autopsy was performed. "They shut me out," she told one reporter, "as if they didn't want me to know what had really happened. And it's not just what was said, it's what wasn't." The report was brief, vague, lacking the kind of transparency you'd expect in a high-profile death. Insiders close to the investigation said things felt rushed.
I want to know, was his wife involved? You know what I'm saying? I want to know, was his wife involved, y'all? Because I know they go to his wife before they go to his mother. And she said it felt like it was rushed. I want to know, did it get to his wife and scare her? Or she was already involved?
As if officials were trying to wrap the case up before anyone could start asking the hard questions. But Pamela had already begun asking them, because something about that night didn't sit right. And for every official statement released, there were twice as many unanswered questions. Why was a healthy, experienced swimmer found drowned in calm water? Why the unexplained delay in calling for help? And why did Malcolm himself warn that this wasn't going to be an accident? The deeper Pamela dug, the more unsettling the story became, and what she would uncover next would shatter everything the public had been told. When Pamela Warner was denied access to her son's body before the official autopsy, she didn't wait for permission. She went to war. Quietly, swiftly, and with precision, Pamela arranged for her own private autopsy to be performed by an independent team she trusted, not the authorities who had already brushed off her concerns. She wanted answers. What she got were more questions. The results, according to sources close to the family, were anything but ordinary. Bruising on the ribs, on the upper arms, around the neck, small fractures that didn't align with drowning, signs of a struggle, subtle but there, and a finding that shook Pamela to her core. The pattern of bruising was described as consistent with restraint. In other words, Malcolm may not have simply fallen into the water. He didn't drown because he panicked, said a family friend. He may have drowned because he couldn't fight back. But that detail was missing from the official autopsy. Omitted, glossed over, quietly buried under a generic conclusion. And when Pamela's legal team reached out to local authorities for clarification, they were stonewalled. No comment, no update on the toxicology, no willingness to reopen the investigation. That's when she knew this wasn't just about grief anymore. This was about truth. Pamela, described by those close to her as soft-spoken but unbreakable, became a force of nature overnight. Her son was gone, and someone, somewhere, was hiding something. She's convinced her son was targeted, said a family source. And now that she's seen the evidence for herself, she's not going to let this go. Because when a mother finds bruises on her son's body that no one will explain, she doesn't stop. She fights. And Malcolm had warned her too, just weeks earlier. "If anything happens to me," he reportedly told her, "open the files. Don't let them silence me." Pamela hadn't opened those files yet, but she was getting close. 3 days after Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death, someone broke into his Los Angeles apartment. But this wasn't a robbery. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no doors kicked in, and perhaps most telling of all, nothing of value was taken. Not the flat-screen TV, not the designer watches, not the rare vinyl collection he prized. Instead, what was missing was information, files, journals, external hard drives, digital voice recorders, gone. Security footage, erased. Not corrupted, not glitched, erased.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here. If y'all want to see the rest of it, y'all, it's right here. Y'all go check it out. Go if y'all want to. But yeah, normal for a black famous person. That's what they say, man. When you get in these industries, y'all. See, he ain't had no choice because he was young when he got in there, y'all. But when you sell your soul, boy, it's hard to get out, boy. It's hard to get out. Once you in there, it's hard to get out. And most of the people that you see trying to get out, y'all, they is healthy, eating right, doing everything they're supposed to do. but still end up dead, y'all. It's just like, it don't make no sense, man. All these people dying like this at this young age, healthy, doing their thing, man. He had a podcast, had a TV show. He still was doing his thing, yo. Cause you know, most of small kid actors, they usually don't go nowhere after they become an adult, y'all. Some of them don't. But he was still thriving. He was still doing his thing. But like, comment, subscribe. Y'all want to see more? And I see you. Peace. I'm out.